In this video, we talk about the fundamental promise of the book Psycho Cybernetics, which is that which is now difficult or seemingly impossible can become easy and second nature. Yes, I added a few words, but that is exactly what this is about. Okay, kids, are we recording? We are live. We are recording live here on the YouTubes. Should be doing this on the Twitter as well. Should be doing it other places, but we are going to be sticking with YouTube and the plethora of podcast platforms that I am on by virtue of using, and this is for your benefit if you ever want to do this, Anchor.fm. It is an amazing app for podcasting. Podcasting used to be a lot more difficult. I'm not advertising for them, but I was on there early on testing it out. I knew it was going to be big. But what they've morphed into is really quite amazing. So if you ever want to get into that, check out Anchor.fm. All right, so it's been 6 days since the last session, and that's a lot more time than I want to be having in between sessions. I actually really was hoping that I could dial this into getting it to be a daily thing. But some days there's just so much shit that hits my plate that I can't do it. And look, that's an excuse. And one of the things that drives me nuts is that you can scour YouTube for people doing similar things, and you hear how many of these guys act like they don't make excuses, like they just have it all dialed in. Look, this is an excuse. Because I could make the time. I could sleep a half hour less. I could make that time happen every day. There's no question about it. But for me, I get sucked into all the things that I have to do that are more pressing. And at the end of the day, this is one of the things that comes down to motivation that I love to be able to extrapolate upon, because I think it's a really important thing. When we aren't doing something that we want to be doing, it's because there's not enough motivation for us there, right? I mean, this is cool. I have fun doing this. Love sharing it. I love the feedback. And maybe in a second I'll get to actually how this channel started. But it's a very small project for me. This is something that's a creative outlet that I enjoy. I love being able to share something that's super important to me, which is this book right here, Psycho Cybernetics, the new Psycho Cybernetics. Everybody has their own preference for either the original or this one. I prefer this one. I love the stories about Bart Starr and the Green Bay Packers. Just because, and Vince Lombardi, guy's a legend. And no, I'm not really a Packers fan, so don't get offended, or don't, one way or the other, don't get offended. Anyway, so the point of this is that motivation is a big thing. There's a gazillion things that I want to do. I'm not in a position to have 17 people working for me to be producing non-stop content. I'd like to be there. But the reality is I'm really focused on what it is that I'm doing, loving every single minute of it. Well, not every single minute, almost. There's no such thing as that. The time it takes to plan that, there's just too many factors involved with that I can't. So, for me to sit down and read some of this and go through and figure out something that's going to be of value for you, it is what it is. So I'm sorry it's been 6 days. I would like to really try to get this to a point where it's a daily thing. So we'll see. I need more engagement. I need more people messaging me, telling me they're getting value from this. The big thing for me with this, though, too, is that this is a long-term play for me. Here's how this channel started. Just so you know, I want to share with you how this channel started, because I think it'll be really revelatory for some of you who come across this. I think it was back in December 2016 or 2015, I think. Whatever, you can check the first few videos. But it was me and a handful of buddies of mine who were in the same space, digital media marketing. They were in different fields in different ways, and we were all of us love what can be done on Facebook and what can be done on YouTube. And what we were doing was practicing. We were researching different keyword phrases and methods for driving traffic according to getting content in front of certain keyword phrases. So what we did is we did some research using keyword research tools, and I'm not talking about cheap crap like Google's keyword planner. That's nothing. We use high-end stuff. And so we could find what were some of the topics. And we made a challenge for each of us. And we said, all right, pick a topic that you're going to talk on and create a channel around and go for it. And let's see who creates the most videos in the next couple days. And I think the minimum was like 30 videos in 3 days. So my one video in 6 days is BS, right? What I'm talking about beforehand. And so I was like, what would I love to talk about? Selling Psycho Cybernetics. Like, these are things that I love. These are things that I think could provide value to people. Some of the other stuff that I talk about is probably too complex. So this is something I could look into that probably has a decent amount of search volume. And when I was first looking at it, the keyword phrase from my research that had a decent amount of search volume and quite low competition that I figured I could rank for was selling skills. What was it? It's if you see a couple of my videos on this channel have like 15,000 views, those whatever the first bit was, selling skills or selling skills 101, I can't remember what it was. Just look it up. That was the keyword phrase that I found that had a worthwhile amount of search volume and not a lot of competition. So I created videos around that within a couple days. I did a whole bunch of different things around different topics, and I sat back. I did the channel or did those videos 3 days, just pumped them off using literally at that time it was like my webcam. I wasn't really big into doing my own video stuff at that point. You can tell by the quality. And anyways, I sat back, created the channel, did our thing. I think I railed off like 45 or 50 videos. I can't remember what it was. Hammered them off though. And watching the channel grow over time, watching this video that was just, to me, it's like, that was like off, all of this was just off the cuff. Zero preparation, nothing. Completely off the cuff. And it's funny to look back at myself. I mean, look like I'm like half my age now. I don't know if I'm getting ugly and older fast or what, but just watching the channel grow and watching just a consistent thing, because we'd keep track of it. It's like a minor little thing, but it was just interesting. And I point this out to other clients that are in business who can use this strategy. Like, look at this. This was nothing, but people are getting value from this. And this channel just continued to go like this. Is it anything off the rails? No. I think at this point I have like 691 subscribers and 43,000 views. Like, it's nothing. But it still has actually brought me a lot of value because people have been exposed to me and they've come to me from that, and it's brought business in, and it was a great learning experience and continues to be that. And also, like I said, the feedback I get from people is worth everything. So I'm willing to continue to do that for that basis. And I know that, again, this is a long-term thing. I would love to be able to create enough content and quality content to dominate the searches for Psycho Cybernetics, because on Google, there's 60,000 searches average per month on Psycho Cybernetics every single month. I think the return could be a little bit worth it. And it's something that I love to talk about. So even if I don't nail it, if some of you get some value out of this that changes, and some of the feedback already has been awesome, I'm golden. So that's how this channel started. Just so you know, it was a fun little project, and watching it happen, that's what I love about this day and age though, guys. That is what I love. So many of you salespeople could actually be using that exact same tactic to drive awareness to yourself, your product, or your service, or your company, and set yourself apart. There are so many things that you could be doing using some of these strategies that are so different from traditional sales and marketing. I could spend, maybe I'll sit down and create a video on it. If you have any questions around that, maybe email me, j@synergistmedia.com. Message me on Facebook, facebook.com/thejwoodford. Comment on this video. The other two are probably better methods. And tell me what it is you do that you found me through this channel, and that you would be wondering how you might be able to use things like a Facebook page, Facebook marketing and advertising, a YouTube channel, and keyword research, and getting in front of some of this long tail search volume to build your business or your clientele. And give me some context in terms of how your things work in your world. Who's your customer? What are their pain points? What's your company? Where's your target market? All that stuff. So anyways, I hope that helps you. That's it. I'm done. It didn't take me long to find my next talking point. Of course it wouldn't, because this book is so chock full of amazing gold and goodness. The next part that we are on is on page 2, pertaining to the context of this discussion is page 2, chapter 1, the new Psycho Cybernetics. The headline, once difficult, now easy. I'm pretty sure this is not in the original Psycho Cybernetics, but I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's not. So let's go through this. I'm gratified that much of this modern explosion of ideas, information, and people to assist you with everything from conquering procrastination to shaving strokes off your golf score appears to be based on Psycho Cybernetics. That is true, because I've done both. You might say that my original work was ahead of its time, or you might say that it has aged well. Yes, it has. Whatever you conclude, the most important thing for you personally is that the fundamental promise of Psycho Cybernetics has been proven true beyond any shadow, beyond any doubt or argument. That is, once difficult, now easy. Whatever is now difficult for you, whatever may have prompted your reading of this book, can be transformed from difficult to easy through the use of certain sound psychological concepts, easily understood and mastered mental training techniques, and a few practical steps. That is the most complete summation of what this book is really all about, is taking that which was once difficult and making it into being easy. And a lot of you guys who pay attention to this channel are sales guys. The vast majority of you who have reached out to me over the last couple of years are salespeople. And you're at a place where you've acknowledged you suck at selling. You're not very good at dealing with confrontation. You're not good at dealing with those prospects who are going to be hard asses and tough. You're not good at dealing with questions. You talk too much. You don't ask enough good questions. There's all these different things. And the thing that is so difficult for salespeople or anybody in any pressure situation is that it becomes really difficult to think when you're in that situation, because there's so much emotion behind every single ounce of what it is you're doing. There's so much pressure compared to just sitting and doing something like writing a piece of paper or screwing on Facebook, that it becomes really difficult for you to not think that this could ever become possible for you to become exceptional at it. And that is the point of what this book, if you read this book and you absolutely do these mental training exercises, the biggest one that I'm going to continue to harp on is, that's right, you know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, because hopefully it's your first time watching any of my stuff, it's practicing. It's role-playing in a non-pressure environment with the right selling skills, with the right selling system, with the right strategy, the right questioning strategies, etc. And doing that over and over and over again. Because inevitably, this is about, you'll read further on in this is about getting yourself to a place where you unconsciously are competent. It's something that might be wrong because of that whole thing. What I mean by that is you are not consciously trying to think your way through things. It just happens because you've set that goal for that cybernetic mechanism in here, and it's just doing its thing, and you are functioning correctly without even having to think it through. You're not so consciously involved trying to force that to happen. That's the goal of this. That's the beauty of this. Anything that we do well, we do it without thinking about it. It's a natural thing that just comes natural to us and happens as a byproduct of the situation that we're in, and lots of practice. We learned how to walk by practicing. We learned how to drive by practicing. We learned how to do everything that we've done by practicing, not by being thrown into the lion's den and being expected to be exceptional. The pressure's too much. I'm not saying don't go out and do this stuff. I'm saying do this stuff. You have to. I mean, you got to make a living. But I'm saying you have to practice. You got it, because that's the way you're going to internalize some of this stuff. There's no other way. You have to practice so that it becomes second nature. It becomes something that you don't have to think about. It just happens. You can send donations to j@synergistmedia.com. Just kidding. Well, you can, but I didn't actually mean that. But that is the ultimate promise that this book makes, and that's something that should be worthwhile for every single person who's watching this or listening to this or reading this book or wanting to go down this path, is to use that promise to motivate you to take the action and use this stuff. Because there's so many things that you probably want to do. You want to become more confident. You want to be a better communicator. You want to be a better closer. You want to be a better salesperson. You want to be a more effective persuader and influencer. This is the only way. This is the only way. And just because you might suck shit right now doesn't mean that that you are destined to that. That is the other thing about this book, is that you are functioning the way you are because that's the way you've imagined yourself to be. I really wanted to reword that differently and I fucked that one up. You are functioning the way that you function because that's the way you've imagined yourself to function. That's not indicative of something that's in your DNA that absolutely prohibits you from ever getting to that point of being effective at what it is you want to be effective at. So, it's, again, like I said in last video, it's giving too much energy to what you perceive people to think of you as. I remember being there, having thoughts of what I thought people thought I was. But the only way I overcame that was those hours driving in my car or walking or whatever, where I was engaged in this exercise of rewiring my brain, because that's exactly what I was doing. Why? Because the nervous system can't tell the difference between a real experience and one that is imagined vividly and in detail. Imagined or practiced. Practice is even better because that's a real success. And then when you get into that selling situation, when you get into whatever situation is, in front of a camera, in front of an audience, whatever that is, your nervous system will draw upon what has been recorded as a successful experience. It works like nothing else. And there is no other way to experience that but to do it. And there's no risk in doing it because you're not doing it in front of other people. Although role-playing with somebody that you trust and who's good would be a huge benefit. But I haven't done much of that. Most of it came from this. But I also had a good system. I had good mentors. So I wasn't just practicing what I thought was good and really it sucked shit, because there's a lot of people who will practice yapping about product knowledge and yapping about this and that. If you're practicing that, stop that now. You have got to learn how to practice, how to carry on a conversation, and be good at asking questions, because nobody gives a shit about how much you know. Do they know how much you care? I wasn't going to say that, but that's not really even, I mean, that is true. But they don't care how much you know. They just don't. They don't until they're in a place when that buyer-seller wall is dropped and you're not sitting there trying to convince them that you're not a shyster salesperson, and that you actually have their interest at heart and you actually might be able to help them. And you've figured out what their pain points are and communicated that and got them to a place of that where they feel that pain. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Like, cut the shit. Because all you're doing is causing them to take that shield and put it up in the air because they get it. You're selling. Don't do that. So don't practice doing that either. Practice that in the context of after you've practiced getting into trying to figure out where their pain is. And I got lots of videos on that from before, so you can go check them out. If you want more content on that, the only way to get that is message me, reach out somehow, email, Facebook, comment on air. But you got to be practicing the right stuff. But just remember that the promise of this book and the promise of what I'm telling you from experience, from what this talks about, is that if you do this, that which is difficult or seemingly impossible for you right now will become easy and will become second nature. And you will blow your mind at how good you can become and how fast it can happen. We'll see you on the next one.